Rose McGowan was born Rosa Ariana McGowan on September 5, 1973, in Florence, Italy, to Daniel, an Irish-born visual artist, and Terry, an American writer. Her earliest years unfolded inside a peripatetic counterculture. Her father helped lead an Italian chapter of the Children of God, and the family moved through Europe in a loose caravan of communes, art studios, and improvised classrooms. In Italy, she sometimes modeled for kids' magazines, a child framed by fashion's bright colors and grow-up gazes. By the early 1980s, the family resettled in the United States. Adolescence for Rose would be a patchwork of Oregon and Washington, fast jobs, public schools, ballet classes, and, after a turbulent home life, legal emancipation at 15. She fled toward a future she had not yet named, but already recognized as hers. Los Angeles gave that nameless future a stage. McGowan's screen break arrived as a blip, an appearance in the breezy 1992 comedy Encino Man, but she would soon leap to darker, stranger material. Greg Araki's The Doomed Generation, 1995, stamped her image into 1990s indie cinema, a sharp, knowing presence in a neon-lit America gone feral. The role earned her an Independent Spirit Award nomination and, more importantly, marked her as an actor willing to stand where the frame felt hottest. The following year, Wes Craven's Scream, 1996, turned a horror in-joke into a cultural event and positioned McGowan within a new mainstream, one that wanted irony, speed, and a face that could telegraph all of it at once. She didn't abandon the edges. Going All the Way, 1997, and Devil in the Flesh, 1998, kept her on the noirish side of romance. Then came Jawbreaker, 1999, a black comedy cult item that looked like a candy box and cut like a razor. As Courtney Shane, the queen bee who rules high school with weaponized poise, McGowan gave a performance that has somehow grown bigger with time. A glamorously poisonous archetype that viewers now quote the way they quote film noir. Jawbreaker bowed at Sundance in January 1999, stumbled at the box office, and then lived a second life on VHS, cable, and the internet, where its fashion and one-liners hardened into legend. Television transformed her from cult icon to weekly companion. In 2001, after Shannon Doherty's departure from Charmed, McGowan joined the series as Paige Matthews, the secret half-sister who completes the trio of witch sisters. Over 5 seasons and 112 episodes, 2001 to 2006, she became part of a fantasy comfort watch for a generation. The role also exercised a different muscle, sustaining character over years, navigating network demands, and building a bond with audiences who found in Paige a mix of mischief, loyalty, and hard-won strength. Between seasons, she kept testing forms. She turned up in Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's Grindhouse Project, 2007, revamped her image as a retro-futurist screen queen, and began a slow pivot behind the camera. That turn became explicit with her directorial debut, the 2014 short film Dawn, a 1950s set story about a sheltered teenager whose yearning collides with predation. The film premiered earlier that year and drew attention for its stylistic control and thematic courage. It also signaled McGowan's shift from merely appearing in narratives to authoring them. By then, another narrative, private, corrosive, had already shaped much of her life. In October 2017, the New York Times reported that Harvey Weinstein paid McGowan a $100,000 settlement related to an incident at the 1997 Sundance Film Festival. The New Yorker published details of the settlement documents as the allegations against Weinstein detonated into a global reckoning. McGowan, who had long hinted in public about a studio head assault, stepped forward with names and a resolve that became a vocation. Her social media accounts became both trumpet and shield. When Twitter briefly suspended her in October 2017, it only amplified her visibility and sharpened a conversation about who gets to speak and how. McGowan's activism was neither tidy nor easily branded. She delivered a fierce address at the Women's Convention in Detroit later that month, insisting on a culture that protects the vulnerable rather than the powerful, and calling on women to rise, together, in public and on purpose. She accused institutions of enabling cruelty, and refused to soften the edges of her critique to make it more palatable. For many, she was a catalyst. For others, a provocateur. For herself, she was working, transforming private pain into public intervention, however imperfect and exhausting that work might be. Out of that period came a book, Brave, 2018, part memoir and part manifesto. It tracks the arc from cult child to Hollywood figure to outsider activist, naming systemic misogyny where publicity once demanded euphemism. The book's language is urgent, unvarnished. It proposes that unlearning the scripts of celebrity can be a kind of rescue, not just for the star but for the audience trained to love the wrong things. Brave is not the last word on McGowan, but it is one she wrote entirely in her own voice. Music, too, became a place to think out loud. In 2020, she released Planet 9, an album named for the utopian world she imagined as a child to survive the life she was living. The record is not a pop pivot but an atmosphere, spoken word textures, cinematic beats, messages addressed to survivors and strays. 20% of the Bandcamp proceeds were pledged to COVID-19 relief during its release window, an act of alignment between art and circumstance. Critics noted the project's self-soothing intensity. Fans heard a dispatch from someone still building a language sturdy enough for survival. Rose McGowan's legacy is not a statue but a trail. It runs from Florence through Los Angeles, from the backlit to Sundance, from a microphone to a page to a studio where the lights are low and the sound is a voice trying out a new register. People will continue to debate her choices and her rhetoric. That, in a way, affirms the central point. She changed the conversation. She made it harder to pretend not to know. She invited strangers to picture a different way of organizing power, and asked them to be brave enough to live inside it. The rest is a film still running, one where the protagonist keeps breaking the shot open so everyone else can step through.